see. Are we good? Are we good? Okay. Do I need, just in case? Yeah, all right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you to everyone who's joining us in person online tonight. Adequate notice of this meeting, as required by the Open Public Meetings Act, was provided through the posting, mailing, and filing of the annual notice of regularly scheduled meetings of the Town Council on December 12, 2023. The notice was, on that date, posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, provided to the Westfield Leader and the Star Ledger, and filed with the clerk of the town of Westfield. And before we do a roll call, I do want to tell everybody, specifically those that are watching at home, we have been experiencing ongoing technical difficulties with Facebook live streaming capabilities. It's on their end, not on ours. And so we are going to continue to use YouTube Live as we've done for the past few meetings, and many municipalities use YouTube Live as their primary source of streaming. So we will continue to do that on YouTube in a live stream format for those who can't be here in person. So the meeting is on our Town of Westfield YouTube site, but as always, the replay will be available afterwards on Facebook, YouTube, and TV 36. So with that, Mrs. Washington, may I have a roll call?
Mayor Brindle?
Here.
Council members Habgood?
Here.
Dardia? Domagala?
Here.
Kiefer?
Here.
Saunders?
Here.
Armento?
Here.
Contract? Yep. Mackey?
Please rise for the invocation, which will be given by Councilman Armento, and remain standing for the salute.
As we begin this meeting, let us take a moment to appreciate the privilege and responsibility we have been given to serve our community. Let us seek the highest ideals of honesty, integrity, and compassion in our interactions and decisions. May our differences inspire dialogue rather than division, and may our shared goals unite us in purpose. Let us move forward with open hearts and minds, committed to the well-being of all.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jim, anything from you tonight? We're going to hear a lot from you tonight. It's a big night tonight, so thank you all for joining. And before we get into that, I just have a few updates, and we'll give you a little insight into the agenda tonight. So a few items of interest. I know I've been talking about affordable housing a lot, but I just want to give everybody a quick update if you haven't been following it. As you may have read last week, the governor signed an affordable housing bill, which was fast-tracked by the legislature in spite of objections raised by the New Jersey League of Municipalities, where I serve as an executive officer, and where we are asking for more time to address areas of greatest concern. Specifically, there remains a significant uncertainty over the methodology for how the next round of affordable housing numbers will be calculated, including the vacant land adjustment I have previously discussed, as well as concerns over the immunity that compliant municipalities will be granted from potential builders' remedy lawsuits. And I've gotten a lot of questions, how's this going to impact Westfield? It's premature because we don't know what our obligations will be or how they will be calculated, which is why it seemed unreasonable to support it at this juncture in the absence of knowing those critical specifics. And what's different about this bill than previous bills, it's the first time they've tried to incorporate they have incorporated the obligations in the statute. Normally it's something that out of the bill that you negotiate later. That's why it was alarming for us in what was different about it this year. So I just want to remind everybody, because I do not want it ever to be misinterpreted that we are not supporters of affordable housing. We are proud to be a fully compliant town and exceptional standing with the Fair Share Housing Center, and our record and commitment to affordable housing speaks for itself, as demonstrated by the plan we recently approved for 22 units of housing for at-risk veterans. So our focus now shifts to planning for the responsible implementation of the next round of affordable housing obligations. We are supposed to know what they are by January of 2025, and at that point we will rely on the expertise of our incredible town planner, Don Samet, and our exceptional affordable housing legal counsel to guide this entire council and administration through the options for meeting those obligations. My hope and as an expectation is, in light of our relationship and standing with the Fair Share Housing Center, that we will continue to have a collaborative relationship with them, which will result in a fair and reasonable outcome for Westfield. So we won't really have more to say on that until we get more information, but I just wanted everybody to know, God bless you, where it stands. So on the legislative meeting tonight, we have some very important items this evening. I'm actually going to ask Councilman Hapgood to give an update on some of the items out of the Finance Policy Committee, specifically as the liaison to the DWC on the Downtown Strategic Plan, and then some insights into the budget. So, Councilman Hapgood.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. We will tonight be voting on a resolution to award a contract for a downtown strategic plan to a company called StreetSense, an impressive Main Street endorsed downtown strategic consulting firm. They were selected after a competitive public RFP process and have been approved by the Downtown Westfield Corporation Board. The costs for the study are being shared between the town and the DWC as part of a planned partnership that was budgeted for 2023. So it's not in the 2024 budget that we'll be talking about tonight. But I do want to clarify what work will be done in this study and why it's important for the Downtown Westfield Corporation. And I do want to note that the chair of the Downtown Westfield Corporation, Jeff Kirschenbaum, is here tonight, and our executive director,
I think
Samantha
she
Horning,
had run
was
home.
here for the earlier meeting, but had to leave. But if you haven't met her yet, you should. But first and foremost, as it relates to the strategic plan, it's a separate and unrelated plan to any of the downtown redevelopment plans that we have. Although any future plan development, including One Westfield Place, is certainly informs and is considered in the planning exercise that StreetSense will undertake, assuming it gets approved tonight. Updating the Downtown Westfield Corporation strategic plan is something that's recommended approximately every 5 years as a best practice, and it includes an assessment of our current Downtown Westfield mission and programming, evaluation of the current and future market influences affecting Downtown Westfield, and engaging the organization's leadership, landlords, businesses, municipal leaders, and other stakeholders in a participatory process to develop a shared vision and a plan to ensure that Westfield stays current and ahead of evolving downtown Main Street retail, marketing, and business trends. So as you can see, it's a really important process that we're going through, and it will include organization recommendations for our Downtown Westfield Corporation, as well as staff and board training. And it's a very robust process that hasn't taken place here in Westfield in over 10 years. So it's an initiative that is certainly long overdue.
Thank you. And the other, actually the big event of the evening is the introduction of the 2024 municipal and capital budgets, both of which I think we're very proud to be making these introductions tonight. Excellent reflections of the fiscal acumen and responsibility we've demonstrated over the past 6 years. I do want to thank Town Administrator Jim Gilday, Assistant Town Administrator Heather Ray, and CFO Scott Olson, who worked diligently over the last few months with each town department to analyze and streamline our costs as much as possible in order to deliver the best possible service and outcome to our residents. And in particular, I want to thank the Finance Policy Committee, Chairwoman, Councilwoman Linda Hapgood, Vice Chair, Councilman David Contract, Councilman Mike Damagala, and David Kiefer. I think they have now a real understanding of how many hours and Saturdays and evenings go into what you're going to see ultimately that gets presented tonight. A budget that reflects savings to taxpayers and strategic investments in key areas of importance to our residents to position us not only well for 2024, but for the long term. So I'm going to ask, once again, Linda Hapgood, as the chair of the Finance Committee, to provide just a brief review of tonight's presentation before we hand it off to our presenters. So.
All right, great. Thank you again, Mayor. As you'll hear in more detail tonight in the presentation of the operating budget and the capital budget, the town performed extremely well in 2023, in large part to healthy tax collections, investment income, improved revenues, and the settlement with senior housing that we negotiated for the benefit of taxpayers, as well as for the well-being of the seniors that reside in our Westfield Senior Housing Complex. I'm proud to report that we generated an incredible $10.2 million in surplus to end the year 2023, which gave us an all-time high $15.4 million in surplus balance to start off this budget season. This enviable financial position allows us the flexibility to not only make significant and strategic investments in areas most requested by residents, public safety, crime prevention, parks and recreation facility enhancements, playing fields, stormwater resiliency, infrastructure, public services, and also to support all these things, best-in-class personnel for now and into the future, but we also have been enabled to deliver a 0% tax rate increase for this year. Yay. Which is worth celebrating.
It is worth celebrating.
This is only the second time over the last 20 years that a 0% municipal tax rate increase has been accomplished. And the first being a few years ago in the same administration. I think it was in 2019.
2019.
Yeah. So I'm very grateful to, again, have the opportunity to lead the Finance Committee. It's now my 6th year, and I'm very thankful and pleased to have had the chance to learn from the master, our Town Administrator, Jim Gilday, and work with Scott Olson and Heather Ray Ferrati, who just make the process so enjoyable and so interesting. So thank you so much for that. And also to my Finance Committee co-members, David Contract, Councilman Damagala and Kiefer. It's a pleasure, and it's always, rewarding to ensure that the strategic and sustainable fiscal decision-making stays a priority. Tonight's proposed budget, as you'll see on our new screens, is the culmination of the strategic planning and choices this administration has made over the past 6 years to invest in people, automation, equipment, and infrastructure. And it's really exciting to witness the good news outcomes and share the details with you, which you'll see in a minute.
So, and I also want to mention that just specifically highlight, because there's been a lot of interest in the investment in parks and recreation facilities that they'll be talking about in more detail that are part of this budget. But, the outcome of the Edison Fields vote has not precluded us from continuing to collaborate with the Westfield Public Schools in order to make progress on improving playing fields for our kids. So Jim and I are in regular communication with Dr. Gonzalez and other administrators in the school system on a broad range of issues, with fields being among the priority items. So as Jim will share, the proposed budget includes working with a professional consultant in partnership with the Board of Ed to formulate curated grass fields maintenance plans for all town and school district fields for the benefit of the community, with the long-term potential to have the town ultimately oversee the care and maintenance for all. Separately, the Recreation Commission is moving forward with the design plan for Tamacos Park, which will include not only field components, but a range of recreational activities in both the existing developed areas and the 7 acres of scrub brush off of Lamberts Mill Road, which has been identified as a potential future recreation area. So I'm going to ask Councilman Kiefer, as the Town Council liaison to the Recreation Commission, who's going to be overseeing this effort, to provide some additional details. So Councilman Kiefer.
Thank you, Mayor. As everyone I'm sure knows, Tamacos Park is a vital part of our community. It serves many purposes for our residents, and we really want to both improve upon that and potentially expand upon its use. And so to that end, the Recreation Commission is in the process of forming a steering committee to explore a design plan for Tamacos Park that would explore how we can upgrade existing facilities and explore additional offerings, including more parking, fields, pickleball courts, walking trails, as well as the possible relocation of the ice skating rink from Gumpert Park. The steering committee, which was chosen by the Parks Committee and the Fields Committee of the Recreation Commission, will consist of myself and the following participants: our Town Administrator, Jim Gilday; Assistant Town Administrator, Heather Ray Ferrati; Recreation Director, Megan Schaefer; Public Works Director, Craig Gibson; Recreation Commission Chairwoman, Jen Gilman; Recreation Commission Member, Ron Feldman; Recreation Commission Member, Jeff Perella; Recreation Commission Member, Amy Berman; lifelong Westfield Chair, Brad Chenany, Ward 4 resident, Kathleen Hanlon, and Ward 4 resident, Phil Lamparello. Our first task as a committee will be the formation of a request for proposals for a comprehensive design plan for the park. Once that RFP is issued, I will keep everyone apprised of the selection process and outcome, and the committee will ultimately make a recommendation to the full council for an award of the contract. It's important to understand the role of this consultant will not be to decide what to do with the park, but rather to facilitate a robust process that will engage with all stakeholders in the community as part of their intake process, including sports leagues, neighborhood residents, lifelong Westfield, and other park users. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much for that. I'm going to formally request to have a seat on that committee as the other Ward 4 representative. I don't want to hear from my constituents that something was happening proposed in Tamaqua without full representation. So I would appreciate consideration for that.
Sure. I didn't make up the committee, so you want to come on? Come on.
Yeah,
All good.
you're invited, Dawn. You're invited. So thank you for that. You will keep us updated on these things as we continue to move forward. So with that, I just want to let everybody know we have a great, we're honoring two great teams tonight, the Westfield High School boys swim team and the Westfield High School boys track team, winter track team that both won state championships again. So they are currently over at the Board of Ed meeting getting honored, and they're going to be arriving here. So we're going to start our budget presentation, but we might take a minute break to bring them up and honor them because they have to get back and do homework. So I just want to let everybody know that. We'll let everybody know when that happens. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jim, Heather, and ultimately Linda, right? Are you participating?
Yes, I am.
To take us through this budget presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Mayor and Council. We're going to go through this presentation, and in order not to hear my voice at all times, I'm going to pass the first few slides off to Heather, get her involved in this process. So I'll pass that off first, and then between the three of us, we're going to chime in. I'll go through most of the slides after that, but we'll chime in. They'll have an opportunity for questions afterwards. Again, thanks for listening to us. So pass off to Heather.
Thank you very much. All right, so to start off, I would like to introduce everybody that's been involved in this process. Of course, the first one being Jim Gilday. He's the town administrator who's been in Westfield for over 30 years now. Crazy to think. And he's been our administrator for 24 years. Next up is Scott Olson. Scott, wave to everybody. He is our CFO, and he has been in municipal government for 26 years, and he's been with Westfield for over 8 years already. My name is Heather. I've been in municipal government for 13 years, starting in recreation, and now this is my second year as the assistant administrator. We then have Councilwoman Linda Habgood as our finance chair, Councilman David Contract, Councilman Michael Domagala, Councilman David Kiefer, and of course we also have Suppley Clooney and Roget McCarthy, who are our bond counsel and our auditing firm, as well as the IAC, which is the Investment Advisory Council, who is comprised of volunteers from Westfield who help throughout the year, the entire year, and give advice and investment recommendations. Would you like to pause here? Yeah? Okay, all right, great. So I want to go over a couple of the 2023 highlights before we get into the 2024 and beyond. Our first one, of course, like Councilwoman Habgood had spoken about, was the historic surplus. So this is an exciting time. It has been replenished to over $15.4 million, which is obviously unprecedented for Westfield. And a lot of these contributing factors are the Westfield Senior Housing Settlement, permits and fees increased, and as well as excess tax collections. We have also had a lot of capital accomplishments. We have paved over 15 miles of road just in 2023. That's 6 miles by the town and 9 miles by the utility companies, as well as various drainage improvements, park enhancements, new public works equipment, and public safety equipment. And some of those enhancements I want to call out were Windsor Park. We finished the renovations with Windsor Park, and another exciting one was the Tamaqua Park bathrooms, the lower bathrooms that were closed for many, many years due to vandalism and things like that. Those were refurbished and brought back online, which was very exciting for the park, as well as strong collections. So the tax collection stood at over 99.42%, which is the highest in recent history with the town. And we've had substantial progress on coming back with the court fees, as well as parking revenues since COVID, as well as higher than expected building department and investment income, which I'm sure Linda Habgood will speak about. And lastly, we had a lot of public safety enhancements and investments. I know we've spoken a lot about the LPRs, but they're crucial to the police department right now, and we've had purchased more of these to make a total of 25 for 2023. And then we've also had increased staffing levels with the fire department. We had 2 more additional firefighters hired last year, including our first ever female for this department. And a couple notable department metrics for 2023. We want to break this down by some of the departments. So the first one being the police department. The police department has over 57,000 calls for the year. And as you can see, that's over 158 per day. And that's almost 7 calls per hour. So we have dispatchers, we have the police officers, and we have administrative staff. So 57,000 calls. I don't think everybody realizes just how much that actually is. Like I said before, we purchased 10 additional LPR cameras for making it a total of 25. And then we had service charges continuing for police vehicles and equipment when we have off-duty jobs. Yes.
We're going to take a break. We're going to allow, I see the track coach is here. Almost the whole winter track team, I think, is here as well. So if the public doesn't mind, we're going to take a break. We have a proclamation. So coach and track coaches and track team, please come up to the podium here. We're going to interrupt our presentation to get you in and get you out to do homework. Just what you want to do. Come on up, guys. All right. Just, just line up behind there. All right, here we go. Here's the guys. All right, hey guys, where? Good. All the guys, how are you? Good. Come on in, everybody. No, where are you? Come on in. Here we go. All right. Hey, hello, how are you? Come on in. I saw you in the passion play, right? All right, good. Hey guys, just keep on going through. Yeah, the second row, that's right. Hello, hey, Noah, Rowan, right? Yeah. Here's the coach. We'll get you in and out of here as soon as possible.
Are you sick of this? Oh my God.
That's yours, yeah.
Well, we thought it'd be kind of funny to tell you had to sit through the budget presentation as your reward for winning state championship, but we know better. So I just asked Coach Tefelsky, he's a little sick of coming here. We're never sick of having you, that's for sure. So congratulations, boys, again, for an incredible season. You just seem to keep outdoing yourselves, and you've set a really high bar, and we're really, really proud of all you've accomplished. So we're going to do a quick proclamation, take some pictures, and get you guys out of here. I know it's probably homework time, and spring break is next week. So, with that, here we go. Okay, the Westfield High School Blue Devils, track and field, 23-24. Whereas, on February 17th, 2024, the Westfield High School Blue Devils boys winter track and field team won their 3rd consecutive NJSIAA Group 4 Indoor Championship. And whereas, on their way to winning the state group championship, the team also won their 3rd straight Union County Championship and the state sectional championship. And whereas, the boys track and field team had many athletes follow up the group championship with finishes in the top 10 in track and field events at the Meet of Champions on March 3rd, 2024. And whereas, the team then traveled to the New Balance National Track and Field Meet in Boston for the final meet of the season to compete in both individual and relay events. And whereas, several members of the team set personal best times, and the boys' distance medley relay placed a close second on the 2nd day of competition. And whereas, on the final day of the meet, March 10th, the boys relay team of Caleb Stockman, Jimmy Gilday, Ryan Daly, and Alex Valencia won the boys 4x800 relay and were crowned national champions, setting a new school record. Incredible. Whereas all of the members of the team, seniors Pete Del Rey, Emmanuel Gallanillo, Jimmy Gilday, James Hamilton, Avery Keith, Graham Corrins, Rowan McMahill, Eamon Mason, Tage Mehta, Noah Petrossi, Tyler Petrowitz, Christian Sanford, Alex Valencia, and juniors Ryan Daly, Luke Gurn, Brenton Hatch, Noah Rubenstein, Caleb Stuckman, Charlie Vanacek, Cole Varner, sophomores Christian Bonapane, and freshman Christian Ruiz are deserving of recognition for their individual contributions to the success of the team. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Mayor Shelley Brindle, on behalf of the Town Council and the citizens of the town of Westfield, do hereby congratulate the 23-24 Westfield High School Blue Devils boys winter track and field team on their historic season, capped by capturing the Group 4 state championship title and a national title in the 4x800 relay, and applaud them for their exceptional dedication to the sport and to sportsmanship. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to recognize these boys and their accomplishments. I'd like to also recognize the other members of our coaching staff, Eric Anderson, John Preston, Sam Heyman, and two other coaches who couldn't attend tonight, Ricardo Johnson and Mariana Bannock, who's still at the school board meeting recognizing two individual state champion girls over there. So, but we're very fortunate to have a dedicated, knowledgeable, patient staff who value athletics as education. These guys are a tremendous group of kids. They're supported by terrific families. We get tremendous support from the Board of Education, from our athletic director, Sandy Mamary, from our athletic trainers, Chris Flores and Nicole Castellano, who work hard to keep these guys healthy. It's just, it's a privilege to be a part of this. Thank you very much.
Swim team here? I think so. All right. We're in search of the boys' swim team. Are they here? All right, they're coming. Swim team? All right. Oh, I saw boys coming. All right. Come on up, boys. Come on up. You're the celebrities of the night. Yeah, congratulations. 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 Exactly. Thank you for coming. Congratulations. You're welcome. Congratulations. Nice job. Congratulations. Thanks for coming. Congrats. Congrats. Good to see you. Congrats. Congrats. Thank you guys for coming. It's a big night, I know. Congrats. Congrats, you guys. Thank you so much for coming. Congrats. Congrats. Hi, congrats. Thank you. How are you? Nice to see you. Thank you for coming. Congratulations. Wow, it's I don't know, most schools would, you have one championship team in any given year is incredible, but the fact that we're honoring 2 state championship teams in one night is really quite an accomplishment for the town of Westfield and speaks unbelievably about our community and our support for sports and certainly the athletes that we have and our coaching staff. So I have the great honor of reading a proclamation for you guys tonight. And so then we'll take a picture and get you guys on your way for homework. So whereas, okay, you're supposed to say, yes, absolutely. We got to get out of here. Yeah, I know those seniors, right? They're on spring break already, right? So whereas on February 25th, the Westfield High School boys swim team won their 2nd consecutive NJSIAA Public A title, the team's 28th state championship in the program's history. And whereas on the way to winning the state championship, the team posted a perfect record for the 2nd year in a row and won the Union County Championship and North 2 Public A sectional titles. And whereas the 23-24 Westfield Blue Devils boys swim team finished their season ranked #1 in the state by NJ.com. And whereas under the leadership of Coach Jeff Knight, the swimmers represented their team, their school, and their hometown with the highest standards of athleticism, integrity, and sportsmanship. And whereas all of the members of the team, seniors Dylan Altman, Hudson Berg, Adam Goddard, Charlie Jekyll, Danny McGann, Archie Mitsuturi, Ben, thank you, you knew exactly where I was going with that, right? Sorry, Ben. Caleb Wiggins, juniors Artem Dobrovolsky, did I do that right? Michael Fisher, Daniel Pierce, Cole Sharkey, Logan Swenson, Alejandro Villar, Owen Wabel, Hudson Wilcomas, Wes Young, sophomores Dylan Lagrimas, Flynn Martin, did I get that right? Flynn. Okay, all right, got it. Liam Mulcaine, Clark Cedar, and Logan Welsh, and freshmen Elias Chang, Alexander Fu, Gavin Gimlett, Luke Jenner, Joseph Kiley, Ben Lane, Max Laskow, Andrew Vorobiev, and Ben Zhao, that's right, and Ben Zhao, are deserving of recognition for their individual efforts and accomplishments, as well as for their contributions to the success of the team. And whereas the mayor and town council of the town of Westfield wish to commend the coaches and members of the Westfield Blue Devils boys swim team for their sportsmanship and many successes during the 23-24 season. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Mayor Shelley Brindle, on behalf of the town council and the citizens of the town of Westfield, do hereby congratulate the 23-24 Westfield High School Blue Devils boys swim team on their successful season, capped by capturing the NJSIA Group 4 Public A State Championship, and applaud them for their exceptional dedication to the sport and to sportsmanship. Congratulations.
I just want to thank the town of Westfield and particularly all the people of Westfield having to put up with us having a parade now 2 years in a row through town and causing a traffic jam. But it just speaks to the support that we get from this town. And these boys take great pride in representing Westfield. And to go back to back #1, now we're already moving on. We got to start thinking about getting 3 in a row, get another parade through town. So thank you very much for everything, and I can't say enough good things about these boys. They are the epitome of a team. They care about each other, they swim for each other, and they swim to represent Westfield. So thank you.
All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. Wow, that was the highlight of the evening. I'm sorry. Did you see their rings? Man, I didn't see that on the track kids. Crazy, that's amazing. All right, so sorry about that, but that was fun, and
So now this
yeah.
is a big letdown, but thank you
Yeah,
for
totally. What
indulging us.
exactly? That's true. All right, so Heather, back to you. Yeah, where were we?
All right. Thank you. After that brief intermission that we all need. Okay, so to move on to the fire department, the fire department, wow, gotta get back into this. They responded to over 2,700 calls last year, and the Fire Prevention Bureau did over 2,000 inspections. DPW, obviously you can see a lot of statistics there. I'm not going to read all of those, but they did have high Conservation Center permit sales, again with over 2,300 permit sales, but this is also a little plug to remind everybody to purchase your Conservation Center permits this year. We have the bulk waste program, which sold over 900 bulk waste permits, thank you. And then some recycling statistics. Some of the ones that we like to see are the plastic bags, where you can see that they have 9 tons of plastic bags that came into the Conservation Center. That is a lot of plastic bags. Then we also have toys and books. That's over 30 tons. They take batteries, they take corks, 800 pounds of corks. And then, of course, the cardboard is always astonishing. Over 127 tons of cardboard. The building department, as we all know, it's a very busy town. We have over 2,600 permits that were issued, and that was approximately 10 per day. And then the inspections. So we have plumbing inspection, electrical inspections, fire inspections. We have over 10,000 inspections a year. The rec department had a sold-out pool again last year with 9,700 members and over 2,000 people on the wait list. And they're about to sell out again for the 2024 season. And then they had over 9,600 guest passes last year. So if you combine the two, you have over almost 20,000 people that are attending the pool, unique people coming to the pool. And then they have over 6,300 participants in all their recreation programming, including their swim lessons, daddy-daughter dance, their camps, and all their various programming and workshops. And then lastly, we have the library. A very important thing that happened last year was that the library migrated the integrated library system, the ILS, which now residents and non-residents have access to over 3 million books, e-books, and things like that you can borrow, which is up from 170,000. So once they went into this new ILS, you obviously have more to offer. And then they also saw over 87,000 visitors last year, which is a lot, which is up 38% over 2022. And then even renting their ebooks, and that was increased borrowing up 17%. So I'm going to pass it off to Jim.
Chime in. Thank you, Heather. And again, just want to also mention we have some department heads here in the audience. We have Alan McGinley from the library, our police and fire chief, public works director, our CFO, of course. So just thank you for being here. And again, some of the stats are just, just shows you some of the production that goes on in these departments. This slide here, just again, a reminder of the pieces of your tax bill. This town council has control over 16.64% of your tax bill. The library has a small portion of that, of course. The Union County has the tax levy and the open space tax, 19.5 and 0.73. And of course, the school board has the majority of a tax bill, 61.47. So when we're talking about our budget for 2024, we're talking about 16.64% of your tax bill. That's what the town council has control over. So again, just a reminder what we do here. And I want to thank the 2 new members of the council who joined the committee. It's a very heavy lift with a lot of hours, January, February particularly, but they jump right in. And so we look at these really 4 sections. Long-term capital investment, we're looking tonight at introducing the capital budget for 2024. It was a 6-year plan that's submitted to the state. We focus on really a 3-year plan, which is more realistic for getting things done and planning things with exact costs. 2, we meet with the department heads, usually November, December, to begin processing and planning for the budget. We close out the previous year in January with the auditors, with Scott Olson, and then we basically, Finance Committee starts meeting heavy end of January with the auditors, figure out how we ended the year prior, what our goals and objectives are. We have our public meeting we had here in January 25th, getting public input as well, and we have then the departments come in and meet with the Finance Committee. Every single department comes in, proposes their budget, discusses ideas, gets feedback from the committee. Very good process. And then again, we heard tonight's the introduction and approval with the council. If they introduce and approve the budget tonight, that's the approval to set the public hearing. And then at the public hearing, which is now scheduled for April 30th, that's the time where the budget would be, have a public hearing, and then of course adopted that night, and then the budget is finalized for the year. We are a calendar year budget town, and of course the budget doesn't get adopted. At the earliest it can get adopted is April, which is why we have temporary budgets in the meantime. But even calendar budget towns don't do their budget till March or April every year. So I'll talk about the slide a little bit. I know Councilwoman Havgood's going to talk about it as well, and Heather mentioned it already. We had a historic surplus generation from 23 to 24. A couple things that this does for us. 24 produces, as mentioned before, a 0% tax increase for municipal purposes. So the 16.64% of your budget, there's no increase in that portion of your tax bill for 2024. The budget increase itself, 2.87% this year. Last year was 5.446%. Year before that, it was also over 5%. So we're actually trying to reduce costs where we can. And then lastly, with the surplus we're using, we'll get that in a second, we're still leaving a very healthy balance of just under $9 million in the surplus, which is not going to be touched and is in place for beginning of 2025. So some numbers you see on the right-hand side, we're just comparing the 2 years. We're starting off this year in 24 with $15.4 million in the bank. Last year we started off with 9.1, so obviously a very healthy position. We're using much more this year, 6.6 versus last year 3.9. And you'll hear more about that. That's a conscious decision by the town council and committee to reduce the tax rate, among other things. Leaves a balance of 8.7. Last year, our balance going into 2024 was 5.1, so we're in a much better position. We generated 10.2 last year in surplus. We don't know what we're going to generate this year, but we usually minimally generate $2.5 to $3.5 million a year in surplus. Of course, other things can feed into that, and we can generate more. We mentioned before, tax rate increase this year is 0. Last year, the tax rate increase for town purposes was 1.98%. And then lastly, the budget was 2.87 and 5.46. So these are some pretty important factors. And of course, all these things lead to, well, what are we spending the money on? And we have the next thing we're going to follow through is our five Ps, our 5 priorities. Town council set this year, and we'll go into some more of that. But you want to say any words about that, or?
I just wanted to mention that, as you can tell from this slide, every year is a little bit of a puzzle. You end up with different factors that you have to figure out how to put together in order to achieve the priorities, and that's really what, the intention is from the, really throughout the year, to make sure that we're investing in those areas that we mentioned, on the right-hand side of the slide. And now you can see why we have so much fun doing this, because it's not the same every year. This is why it's so much fun to present it and see how it comes out every year.
Yeah, it is a bit of a puzzle. So again, these are the 5 priorities, the 5 Ps, we're calling them 2024. So we'll delve into each one of them. Again, first, public safety. This is investments in crime deterrence, emergency response, pedestrian traffic safety, and community outreach. Some items to note here that are in the budget this year or will be in the capital budget. Some of the priorities, again, we have a new fire engine pumper we have to replace, which we'll be doing by a separate capital ordinance in a few months from now. We already purchased property next to Firehouse number 2 to accommodate a new fire headquarters in the future. We're going to be repurchasing more solar speed signs, LPRs, license plate readers, flashing beacons, and various other police technology to assist the police department in not only doing their jobs, but deterring crime and, of course, deterring traffic issues in town. And, of course, replacing radar units. The radar units go in the vehicles for police. We do have to replace them on a systematic process, which we do. Fire department, fire chiefs here, increasing fire prevention awareness in the town, having more visits to the schools, educating students and kids as we move forward. And then lastly, one thing we're excited about, you'll see a picture of it later on, from a public safety perspective, we're going to replace all the town street signs this year. For those of you who know, of course, most of our street signs are green. and a lot of them are old. There's also a bunch of street signs out there that are different colors. Some are black and white, some are steel, some are metal. It's a kind of a hodgepodge. So from a public safety perspective, from a visibility perspective, we want to replace the street signs, and we'll show you a picture of that shortly. But important to note that this is all going to be done in-house. We've invested in our Public Works Department. We have a new sign shop now. We have the ability to do this in-house, so Craig Gibson, our Public Works Director, and the Roads Division really will be heavily involved in this, so we'll be able to do it at our own pace. And the last piece of this puzzle is we're going to add a little fun to it. When the signs come off the street, we're going to take pictures of everyone and auction the signs off for the public to buy. People sometimes steal these signs anyway, put them in their man caves or sheet sheds or whatever. We want to actually take advantage of that and make some money back and be able to donate that to one of our programs that we might have. We have a Public Arts Commission that's always looking for money. We have a Green Team. These are things we can take money in if we do get revenue from it and put it to good use. So we're excited about that process. You'll be hearing a lot more about that. Under Parks and Recreation, we have a big year for Parks and Recreation. It's always a big year, but this year, lots of things happening. We're continuing to invest in field improvements, facility upgrades, and public space beautification. A couple things on the list this year that are in our either capital budget and or operating budget. Memorial Park Playground is in the capital budget this year. For those of you who use Memorial Park, is one of our more heavily used parks. The playground equipment there is very old. For those of you around as long as I have, that playground was an Eagle Scout installation by Gregory Ryan on behalf of his handicapped sister. It was really our first playground that was put in with any kind of special surface for ADA compliance. This will be a complete revamp and replacement of the whole entire playground with some other ADA compliant renovations around there, so we're excited about that. We also have some grants we've applied for to offset costs for that. We will also resurface Tamaqua Park tennis courts, lining them for new tennis courts as well as pickleball. This is also the home courts for the Westfield High School tennis team, so that's important to have those in very good functioning order. We are currently also working with a consultant who's also the same consultant the Board of Education is working with. And that consultant is working with Public Works right now and Recreation on all of our current fields, grass fields particularly, looking at soil composition, and we're going to come back with a curated field plan for all of our fields on different times of year, what has to be done, aeration, seeding, and so forth. So we're going to follow that plan and see if that will actually help us be able to have the fields even maintained better. And the Mayor mentioned earlier in her comments tonight, this will hopefully lead in the future to a shared service with the Board of Education where the town of Westfield can actually assist and take over some of the maintenance of school fields. They are a very heavy facility organization. They have a lot of buildings and so forth. We're much more outside. We do a lot more work outside, so it kind of makes sense. And the public really doesn't even know necessarily who's maintaining what. They just want the fields maintained properly. So we're looking forward to that partnership as we move forward. And lastly, we'll hear more about Houlihan said Fay Field parking lot expansion and restroom. This is a project we've been working on. There's a consultant now working on details with DEP compliance, and will come back to us. We'll have a separate ordinance for that this year to get that project started this year. Paving and drainage. So this is continued investment in paving and drainage. We'll get into more slides about this. I want to note the picture on the top right. Not a very exciting picture, but it's a very important picture. You may recall in previous year's budget, we invested ARP money into new sewer infrastructure equipment. We actually purchased a sewer camera, which our roads division looks and uses. So what we've been doing the past year, we've been actually having a sewer camera go into stormwater lines and videotape and take pictures of these lines. Good news is, most of the areas we've gone in and looked at are very clean, great infrastructure, no issues. This happens to be a picture of a pipe where the joint basically slipped, and the actual opening for water flow is actually half of what it should be. We identified this issue. We had residents of Bell Drive in town had some issues where you have a flash flood area where the water piles up in the cul-de-sac. We did the sewer camera here. We identified this issue. This is now going to be a project in 2024. We're going to go out and fix this. And so that the water has more place to flow, so the water can get in the system quicker and not have that issue happen on Bell Drive. So that's one of many areas we're continuing to identify and address our stormwater system as we move forward, which I think is important. So not a very exciting picture, but a very important picture. Paving. We'll get into paving a little bit later, but paving, another 6.7 miles of road we expect to do this year. The utilities are expecting to do 12 miles of road this year after they do their work on the roads, infrastructure, utilities under the ground. So it's 18.7 miles of road that are expected to be paved this year. There's also a separate 1 mile of road that the county is expecting to pave this year. Anyone who's driven down East Broad Street from Euclid to North Avenue, It's a county road. They're paving that this year for us, thankfully, and it's definitely in need of it. All road paving includes ADA upgrades for handicap ramps, stormwater upgrades, inlets, adding places, and so forth. So those are important things. In addition to that, we have 4 sanitary sewer pumping stations in Westfield. There's areas in town where the topography of the area doesn't lend itself to have natural flow for sewer water. So we actually have pumping stations that pumps that water to the sewer system. We've replaced 2 in the past few years. Our last 2 are due for replacement. We're going to take care of them both this year. And again, we're also looking into, this thing came out of our finance committee meetings, beginning the process, we'll talk about it a little bit more later, hiring a consultant to begin the review process with the DEP for the Robinsons branch, the drainage flume over by Knollwood Terrace area, and that really needs some attention, so we're going to start that process this year. Big cost in the budget this year is personnel, but that's really how we get things done in municipalities. People get things done. We're in the people business. So we continue to invest in key personnel, and of course, not just for now and what we're doing today, but also investing for the future. So a couple things to note in this year's budget. And investing in personnel helps productivity and long-term success, succession planning, et cetera. In addition to that, we've added some money to police overtime this year. They're doing a lot more work on crime prevention, speeding. We have a new initiative that we'll be hearing about soon about speed enforcement in town. Also, the 2023, we actually did a lot of hiring or realizing full-year positions, and I thought it was important to note them here. I won't go through all of them, but we brought back our full-time town engineer. We had a consultant engineer who did a good job for us, but we realized after those 2 years, for a town of our size and the level of volume we get, we had to have a full-time engineer, so that came on board in 23. Late last year, we're realizing the full cost of that person the full year this year. Another thing was, Heather mentioned it before, 2 new firefighters last year, adding to our roster, our first female firefighter in history, and we're adding 2 more this year, bringing our tours or platoons in the fire department back to 9-person platoons, which is very important for public service and safety services. Also, building department, assistant zoning officer, technical assistant, those are all things in those departments to be able to serve the over 10,000 permits or inspections we're doing a year and permits we're issuing. Despite the developments going on in town, people are investing in their homes in this town. We have new basements, new bathrooms, renovations, tear downs, kitchens, backyards, pools. It never stops. So it's a great thing for the town. People are investing, but we need people to inspect those things, issue those permits, and make sure they're compliant. And again, one last thing about investments this year. Public Works is a big place for investing. Through the process we went through, the Finance Committee and the Council, we have a new Public Works Director who's here. We have a new Assistant Public Works Director. We're reorganizing that department. We're right now doing interviews for replacement supervisors. We're also working on looking at a working foreman title to really build the future of that department and put the people in the places to even get more productivity, focus on many factors, not the least of which is fields as we move forward. So we're excited about personnel. I want to thank the council for supporting that, because it's not a small thing to support personnel. And last of the 5 Ps, public services. A lot of these are technology related, but it never stops. You see there on the bottom right our picture of the Westfield Connect app. We are coming up on our 5-year anniversary of the Westfield Connect app. It's kind of hard to believe that happened so fast, but we'll be giving a report this summer about our 5-year history, how it's worked for us, and we hope to make some changes to it as well. We've had a lot of experience now, people wanting to submit requests for various items, and we want to actually make that more easier for people. But I want to remind everybody, Westfield Connect app is a great tool to use to submit requests under various categories. So we're going to try to big push on that this year to try to let a lot of new residents know that exist. Building department, technology improvements continue there. And we're really going to bring the last 2 departments online in a way the public can have access to. And that's the fire department for permits and applications in the Fire Prevention Bureau. Thank you, Chief Dulks. And also in the parking department. We want to get to online permits and online waiting list management there, which we haven't done in quite a while. So we're excited about those public services. Good.
I'm just going to add to that, because along with the public services, you'll see it's a lot of investments in technology, and the technology allows the great people that work for the town to really be extremely efficient. So remember, to use these technology tools to get responses from the departments that you want to interface with. We're trying not to answer the phone anymore. We really want you to just use the technology, because we can respond a lot more quickly that way.
Thank you, Linda. Next thing is capital improvement fund. It's just important to note, the capital improvement fund is different than the capital budget. Capital improvement fund is a line item in the actual operating budget. And the main reason for that line item is to actually put money in there that goes towards a down payment on future capital projects. The town council, over many, many decades, has also put money in there each year dedicated for specific purposes, and they're fully funded for that year. So some of the items this year that are in the capital improvement fund, in addition to a deposit for future capital projects, include the following. Hiring professional consultants. We heard it from tonight already from Councilman Kiefer about the Tamacos Park design plan. We have a consultant that will help us design that and be hired this year to start that process. Same with the stream cleaning project on Robinson's Branch. Someone will come in, we have to actually do a lot of DEP compliance with that, so that'll start this year. And the fueling station of Public Works. Fueling station not only fuels Public Works vehicles, police, fire, rescue squad, Board of Education. We also have shared services with other communities too that use our gas pumps and reimburse us. So having that actually fuel pump area designed in a much more DEP compliant way and have that started this year is a big deal for us to making sure that our people can get out and do the jobs they need to do. Also, Tamacos Park tennis court resurfacing, we mentioned before, is fully funded in this line item this year. Athletic field maintenance equipment, once we get this curated plan and we follow through, we want to have a money there to buy any equipment we may need that we might not have. So there's a placeholder there for that. And parking system improvements and technology. We want to actually roll out a new app for parking use downtown, in addition to one we've had for a while, and also look at new technology, and we mentioned it before, online permitting and online waitlist systems. So we're excited about these items that are fully funded in this year's budget, and these items will be completed or at least started this year, that's one, some of the things are included in the budget. So some exciting things, we mentioned before, this budget produces a 0% tax increase for 2024 for town purposes, municipal purposes. You see the history here since 2012. It does go up and down, as Linda said, every year's a puzzle. The puzzle worked pretty well in 2019 and again in 2024. But even when it didn't produce a 0%, we're still, for many, many years, under 2% tax levy cap and 2% budget, or 2% increase, which is important. So again, since 2018, 1.2% average tax increase. And that's only achieved due to the council's hard work with the staff. A little more detail about how you get to the number and what the tax calculation is. We take our total expenditures. This budget is a $53.3 million budget. We take out the revenues that we're getting from other sources that don't have to do with the taxes. So sources come in from revenue for all sorts of things. We then are left with the tax levy, what the taxpayers are left to pay, $31.3 million this year to support a $53 million budget. That's important. That's something that some of the new members of council had questions about in the process, and it's a good question. Even though we have a $53 million budget, we're only asking the taxpayers for $31 million because the rest comes in from revenue. So every piece of revenue we can get to make the 22 higher helps to reduce the tax-supported budget. We then divide that by the ratables. The ratables are the property value of all the properties in town. As you can see, it's increasing by 0.88%, but we had the tax levy increase by 0.88. The ratables happen to increase by 0.88, thus producing no increase in the actual tax rate increase for 2024 for municipal purposes. So note on the right-hand side there, of average assessed home in 2024 is $820,900. That's up from last year, $812,800. What does that mean? That means that property values of everybody in town continue to increase. Why? People are investing in their homes. People are coming here for the amenities we have, the town provides, the school provides, the library provides, all these different, the county provides. So Westfield is still a very attractive place, and people are coming here, and home values are going up every year, which is important, and that helps to manage the tax rate. So this is a lot of numbers, but it's just important to know, how do we get to a 0% increase in the levy, increase in the rateable value? Okay, so not going to go through the slide in detail. All the slides will be on the website, by the way. You can view them at your leisure. This is a quick little snapshot of 3 years worth of municipal budgeting, the expenses and the revenues. And of course, you see the bottom right there. This year's a 0 increase. You see the components: salary and wages, operating expenditures, debt service, reserve for uncollected taxes. Because we are the taxing entity and we are the collector of all taxes, we must put a placeholder in case no one pays their taxes. And so even if no one pays their taxes, we still owe the Board of Education their money, we still owe the library their money, and we still owe the county their money. So only the town has that line item on their budget. It's not a small line item, $3.2 million. deferred charges, statutory required expenses, capital improvements. Those are the operating expenditures. Revenues and taxes are those two things. So last thing to mention on this slide, one of the things that we always struggle with every year is the statutory required expenses. And you see in 2022, that number was up 899,000 or 5.16%, and 23 was up 6.75%. This year we had a much better year, only up 2.26%. But that's what we say at our January meeting every year. What are our challenges going into that year? Those are bills we get. Those are the pension bills, health insurance bills, utility bills, things we don't have a lot of control over or little control over, and we have those bills, and they have Railway Valley Sewage Authority bill. These are big numbers that come in, and we have to pay those. So we had a very good year this year in '24, so we took that to our advantage and sunk money in other areas and offset it with revenues, which is great. Some of those highlights in the key expense and reduction areas, police and fire department salary and wages, we talked about before. We're investing in our public safety departments, new hires, replacement hires, and other staffing there to make sure that public safety is a top priority. So it happens to be the top increase this year in this budget. The Railway Valley Sewage Authority, there is the second highest increase this year in the budget. Engineering, planning, and building department, salary and wages, again, we've invested more in manpower and womanpower there. Joint insurance fund, you'll see on the right-hand side of this slide, we have a reduction, noteworthy expense reductions. Interesting thing, in insurance this year, we had a reduction in our health insurance of over $200,000. We had an increase in our liability, workers' comp, et cetera, of over $200,000. So a couple quick notes about that. The insurance for workers' comp and liability is a bit of a correction in the marketplace. A big part of that is becoming cyber insurance. Okay, so municipalities, you've heard stories everywhere, municipalities getting hacked, Bitcoin, ransomware, those type of things. We take a lot of effort and time to make sure Westfield's protected, and our joint insurance fund helps us with that. So between that and property assessments of properties we own to insure them properly are part of what's the correction in this year's budget, why there's a big increase in that. On the other side of the coin, health insurance, this is now our third year as a self-insured entity, where we are managing our costs on a monthly basis rather than getting a flat bill whether we use it or not. That's important. We have, knock on wood, very healthy population overall, and because of that, we moved to self-insurance, and it's actually paying off so far 3 years in. So that's a very positive thing for the town, and hopefully that'll continue. Also, utilities is a noteworthy expense reduction. We put a concerted effort in to manage our utilities. This building alone has now been 2 years, I think. We put in storm windows in two of our most drafty rooms, and we've actually made a change there on heating costs for this building. So a decrease in total utility costs, $69,000. That's not a small thing. So again, these are some of the things that really affected our budget, but I think they're well managed overall, and some of these are our choices to actually invest, and we're using surplus to offset some of these items. And this next slide, it just shows you where everything is allocated. So again, the two big numbers here, salary and wages and statutory required expenses, 38% for salary and wages, 37% for statutory required. Important to note, we're a municipality, but we're really running a business. We have a business of over 210 employees, and to have a business we run with all the different items that we own, to have salary and wages be under 40% is pretty remarkable for what we do and what we serve the public. So it's a pretty important thing. Operating expenses, 11.75, not a big number for all the things that go in that budget, public works, police, fire, to name three big departments. Again, you see debt service is well managed compared to the size of our budget. So that's a quick overview on the operating stuff. We're gonna jump into capital, which is only a few slides, and we'll be done. But again, any questions or any comments on the operating? No, that's okay.
All right, I'll start. I'll jump in and cover some of the capital budget stuff. And just as a reminder, we're approving the capital budget tonight separate from the operating budget. We started doing that a couple of years ago because part of the process of getting the capital budget approved is that it enables us to start working on the infrastructure improvements and things like that that we want to get a jump on. That's the only way that you can pave the number of roads that the Public Works Department and others are able to pave. So just to make sure that everyone understands, anything over $5,000 and has a useful life of more than at least 5 years goes into our capital budget. As you look at this slide, there's a lot of small font here, so you might want to look at this later online, but this is the 4.4 $1.484 million that we're approving tonight for very specific capital budget items that we have a 6-year capital budget plan, so we're constantly planning for not only what we're spending in this year, but we're looking out into the future to see what things need to be replaced and how we're going to budget for those things along the way. So this is a pretty significant capital budget because we are taking those dollars that we received back in surplus this last year and putting them back to work for you. So you'll see the specific things that we're looking to do, infrastructure and facility improvements. A number of these things were mentioned before, but I'll just call out historic site enhancements, continued improvements to this building. Road improvements are always really important to us. The public safety measures, I think, we've gone through pretty significantly. Again, really focusing on tools that we can give our police and fire departments so that they can better enforce the speeding laws and other laws, and also do everything in their power to prevent crime, which are doing an excellent job at. Parks and Rec, there's some big and little things that are happening this year, from adding bottle fillers to the overall strategic plan in Tamaqua Park. So a lot of exciting things happening there. Are in equipment and vehicles, that's just helping to upgrade the equipment that all of our departments utilize to provide a high level of service, and traffic and pedestrian safety improvements as we've, as quickly as possible, we want to improve those things.
So that was, again, this will all be online, look at it. That's what's included in the ordinance that's being introduced tonight. The next slide here is other items we talked about before, but there'll be future capital ordinances this year once we have more details. So the Houlihan, Sid Fay restroom parking lot project, we're working now, waiting for a consultant to get back to us. There'll be a separate ordinance on that at some point this year to get that process started. Replacement fire engine pumper, as per our replacement schedule in the fire department, and Memorial Pool, the one on the far right. So Memorial Pool is a separate public utility. It is not a tax-supported utility, so when we do work there, we do a capital ordinance, and then the debt service is borne by that entity. But it's important to note, Memorial Pool, highly successful public utility, they need to replace their filtration system at the pool. So we're gonna actually budget for that this year, do a capital ordinance, and then they will plan to have that happen in the off-season between 24 and 25. A lot of pre-planning goes into things like that. And then last slide here, just some more detail, road paving. We want to just remind everybody of what's really transpired since 2019. We first started a partnership with the public utilities and then turned that into an ordinance that requires road paving when utilities impact our roadway. So you look here, obviously, 2019 was a big year, but the orange represents, orange bar, part of the bar represents utility work going on, which is paving, curb to curb, end to end of impacted areas at the utility's expense. And the black bars are what the town has done at its own expense. And basically, despite the COVID year in 2020, we've been getting, the past couple of years, on average, 14 to 15 miles of road paved every year between the two entities. And of course, in 2024, we do expect 18.7 miles of road to be paved, 12 or so of the utility work, and ours is 6.7. So it's not insignificant, and we are on pace. You see the top of the slide there, 75 miles of road paved since 2019 through 23. There are 18.7 added to the list in 2024. And of course, we're on pace by 2026 to have all of our roads reach what they call a pavement condition index score of over 60. So then when we go back, either we can pave roads or treat them differently at a lower cost, therefore saving capital money to invest in other items, whether it be recreation or other infrastructure items. So it's a pretty significant program, and again, this is when our consultant engineer was working for us. He worked for many other towns. He said he really had never been in a town before where this amount of paving is done in one calendar year, never mind over the course of many years. So rather significant. So that's the overview. Thank you for listening, and thank you for the town council to. Oh, yeah, okay. So, again, this presentation will be online by no later than tomorrow, probably. Of course, tonight's action by the town council approves the budget. Again, ready for a public hearing. So between now and April 30th, we have our budget at westfieldnj.gov email address, which has been up for forever. You can email us questions. And any other last comments?
I don't think so. We'll see if you have any questions during public comment. We're happy to answer them. And the budget doesn't get adopted for another month, so that means that even though we're presenting a lot of detail tonight, if there are other things that you all would like to communicate to us, as it relates to the operating budget, we're here. As it relates to the capital budget, this is just the start on the things that we're going to do this year. And just hope that everyone sees the commitment that we've made to really delivering on the commitments on the priorities this year. So that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well done, everybody. That's great. So moving on to the agenda for this evening, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Town Council Conference and regular meetings of March 12, 2024? So moved by Councilman Contract. Second?
Seconded.
Second by Councilman Kiefer. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? This motion is carried. Now it's time for open discussion by citizens. Anyone may come up to the mic and speak to the council on any subject on which we have jurisdiction. Please state your name and address to the record and limit your comment to 5 minutes, please.
I'll take the shot. Peter Primavera, 2260 Walnut Street. Thank you, Jim. I think I'll cut this really short. You all got my letter a couple weeks ago. I apologize I wasn't able to be here about the current status of the Historic Preservation Plan element study, the quality of the work, the deficiencies in the work, and the problems with the sequence in the way the 3 deliverables are being done. I'm pretty sure all of you got that, and I think Jim and some other people did also get that letter. The entire Historic Preservation Commission got that letter. I've been doing historic preservation since I was 17. I've been doing it for 40 years full-time. I've done over 5,000 projects. I've done hundreds of historic preservation elements. I did not propose on this one for my town because it was a conflict of interest for me to do our own towns. But I can act as a citizen watchdog. And that's what I've done, and I've talked to Shelley, and I've talked to Salvador. Michael and I had a good conversation about it last night, that we're not getting $60,000 worth of quality in the product produced to this point, even including the revisions that we've got. So I'm here to do one thing, is plead to you that Monday night is the planning board's meeting to formally adopt the historic preservation element, as written, as revised. Extend that deadline. Please extend that deadline if there's any possible way. It needs work. The consultant already knows what some of the work is. They've been notified. Dave Samet and I and some others have notified them. And the Historic Preservation Commission had a very robust conversation about that. Councilman Damagala was there last night, and we had a long discussion about it. And I think we had pretty much consensus right across the board that there were some issues in there that, you know, I can't expect our they're not experts in historic preservation. They're local people who have an interest in historic preservation. I'm a professional at it. I know what this is. And what the consultant that we hired did, and I'm not trying to bash the consultant, I'm bashing the quality of the product, is they used the credential that they had done this before in Jersey City. I asked you to call Jersey City, as I said in my letter to you 2 weeks ago. They are in many, many months of contract extension because the product is so deficient. And Jersey City is by far the most historic preservation sophisticated municipality in the state. They have 3 full-time staff members who do nothing but historic preservation. And they had hired the same consultant to do the exact same scope of work, and they are months and months and months in overrun because they're not satisfied with the product. That's what I'm saying. Again, you all saw that in my letter. The letter, I think I stopped writing at 4 o'clock in the morning because I was at like 8 pages and I had 20 more to go, and I didn't want to overwhelm everybody with more of what that letter was about. So please, if we can do anything to extend the planning board's deadline to adopt that. And I'll say one other thing real quickly. There are 3 components to the Historic Preservation Plan project. One is the preservation plan, which gets adopted and attached to the municipal master plan, right? We have one and it's being updated by this consultant. Then there is a survey of the downtown historic district, an architectural survey where we go building by building and you determine which ones are significant, which ones are not historically significant, which ones have architectural character. And then the third component of their contract, their $60,000 contract, is a National Register nomination to put that downtown on the register. Our contract, our RFP, and I'm not blaming anybody in the town didn't know better. It's got the cart in front of the horse. The way you do it in any municipality, and the way I've ever seen it done, either my doing it or anyone else in the professional world done, is you do the survey first. You get the town to buy off on that. You do the National Register nomination, which determines what's significant, what's not, and what the boundaries are. The boundaries are critical in what is going to be in and out of that historic district. Then you adopt the preservation element. If they adopt the preservation element now, they're using completely inadequate information because those other 2 studies aren't done yet. And I think they're due in the next couple of weeks, right? And we haven't even seen a draft of either one. So it's a mess. It's a mess. And I certainly don't want to suggest that anybody in the town has mishandled this. And I should say, and I meant to say before I started talking, thank you for being the responsible stewards, the volunteers, and the people who care for what I believe is the best town in New Jersey. Maybe there's one that has Princeton University in the middle of it that's maybe got some things about it that are pretty good too. But I think ours is the best one without a Princeton University in the middle for sure. So thank you for doing that. And I think this is the responsible thing to do. We've got time. We don't have to
Mr. Priver,
get
you're out
this
of
done.
time, but thank you very much. We
Okay.
duly noted, yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Anybody else? Okay. Oh, oops.
Good evening, Mayor, Town Council, Greg Casco, 434 Everson Place. At the last Town Council meeting regarding what I addressed with Mr. Saunders and contradicting statements that he had made, first during his campaign and then second here at a Town Council meeting, he responded at the end of public comment without me getting a chance to respond, and I'll do so now. Mr. Saunders, your refusal to address resident concerns regarding conflict of interest issues is a very real concern. Instead of putting this to bed, you stated, quote, "What's next? Are we going to force Westfield residents and business owners to recuse themselves?" As a councilman, you well know only voting members of the public body are subject to recusal. You can easily put this to bed by simply stating you will recuse yourself if the recommendation is made by legal counsel, just as former Councilman Jim Boyce did, and others before him. It's simple. Will you recuse yourself if legal counsel informs you of a conflict of interest, yes or no? For the record, I have not asked you to step down or resign. This is simply an ethics issue that could cost taxpayers money. The developers no doubt have seen the video you circulated stating your personal interest, as have a great many in this town during your campaign and those that watch these town council meetings. Mr. Kiefer, at the last council meeting, it was the first time I've spoken regarding this issue since the new council was elected. Mr. Kiefer, you try to silence me and residents like me when we have concerns about clear legal ethics issues that could cost taxpayers money by admonishing us, calling these concerns gratuitous attacks. Yet you're on the very email chains where people talk about attacking this mayor, and you've nothing to say about that. I have those emails here. During the election, I heard all these words of bipartisanship. I hear you're working well now with this town council, each person on this town council. But when is the behind-the-scenes display of partisanship going to stop? How come you're not asking Councilman Armento when he's going to stop with the personal attacks? There was an email that was circulated, and it went to no less than 30 people. The likes of Stephen Goodman, Susan Goodman, Carla Bonacci, Kerry Murphy, Kerry McVie, William Sherwood, Denise Sherwood, Westfield Advocates, Robert Wendell, Joe Salem, William Fitzpatrick, Frank Fusaro, Paola Briones Mauro, Courtney Shaw, Todd Saunders, Michael Domagala, Anthony Laporta, David Kiefer, and the list goes on. We were called minions by Mr. Armento in these emails that I have here. I can assure you, everybody on this town council, I am nobody's minion. I walk to the beat of my own drum, I come to these meetings, and I speak my mind. It's my right. I've lived in town for 53 years. And if I think that something is of a concern, such as ethics, it's not a gratuitous attack. It's a legitimate concern that I and others have. All I asked at the last meeting was, would you simply recuse yourself if asked or advised by Westfield's legal counsel should a conflict arise in a vote on 1 Westfield Place? After you had stated during your campaign that you're scared about what's going to happen to your father's business, which you stand to inherit. It's a valid concern once Westfield Place is developed. And then last month you stated 1 Westfield Place has nothing to do with your inheritance. I never brought up your finances as you suggested. Never. He brought up his own finances at a previous meeting and during his campaign. He brought up his concerns about his family's holdings. I bring to you emails, an email chain that there is an effort by members of this town council to collaborate, to use a word that you've used before, against this mayor and town council. But yet you allow this to continue and you don't address it when Mr. Armento calls us minions. Thank you for your time, Mayor, council members. This has got to stop. You're all here to work for the better of this town, not only in public, but also behind closed doors. Thank you.
Anybody else?
This is just more mundane. See, Carla Bonacci, 603 Lawrence Avenue. This is just more mundane, but I made a recommendation at the earlier conference meeting that you guys would put in the budget to mill and pave the drop-off pickup area in front of the maze. It is our front door for mass transit, and it is in a decrepit, terrible condition. It's a safety hazard, and it's really not representative of what we think the town of Westfield is. And then to Peter Primavera's point, he reminded me that I made 3 important comments to Don Samet on the historic preservation report, which he acknowledged, but I've not seen anything. It would be lovely to see a redlined copy of these reports that are developed so that we understand what changes are being incorporated. I think I've mentioned that to Tom Jardine before as well, so it'd be nice if you could do that for the public.
Good evening. I just want to take a minute. Drew Kellerman, 534 Boulevard. I just want to take a minute to thank the members of the 2023 administration for the amazing, amazing performance. And you guys are the reason that we have 0% tax increase, so I'd like to just take a moment and recognize that. That is outstanding. You're giving us the second year of your administration with a 0% tax increase. I just want to take a minute, recognize that, and thank you for all your hard work. It has not gone unnoticed. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, I close this portion of the meeting. Mr. Primavera, I assume all your comments, and you said you were at, oh, there you are. Hello, you were at the HPC meeting last night, it sounds like. So, you know, the recommendation for any type of delay would come from Jenny Jaruzelski, who's chair of the Historic Preservation. I haven't heard anything that they have any interest in delaying. I know they had already delayed it one time and at their request. So, but Don Samet, as you know, this council isn't really directly involved in the details of that. It gets approved by the planning board, as you well know. So we can circle back with Jenny and with Don in advance of the planning board meeting and just confirm that they're ready to move forward and go from there. But I'm sure if you've provided all these comments, and you said you spoke to Councilman Domagal last night, that your comments are, well, have been considered and hopefully, you know, taken into account. So, and Ms. Bonacci, I know you brought up the Maze paving in the previous one, and as we had mentioned, Maves will be doing some repair work in front of their building, which we should see before they open. So, and Mr. Casco, and you know, I don't know if Mr. Saunders wants to comment, but I know last week Tom Jardine got up. And, you know, I don't really want to get into whether someone should recuse or not recuse. However, to me, it's cross that bridge when we get to it. And and that's pretty much what I know Mr. Jardine mentioned last week. If that ever came up, that would be something that he would do in council. But right now, I'm not one that really likes to deal in hypotheticals. So that's kind of how I would handle it. I don't know if you have anything to say other than that. And thank you, Ms. Kellerman, for the comments on the budget. It is a budget I think we can all be very, very proud of, so appreciate that. With that, we'll move on to bills and claims. Councilman Hapgood.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move bills and claims in the amount of $584,260.80.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Mackey. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? This motion is carried. Next on the agenda is reports to standing committees, beginning with the Finance Policy Committee. Councilman Hapgood.
Thank you again, Mayor. I have 9 resolutions, 4 of which I'd like to move as a package. The first, a resolution authorizing the CFO to refund recreation department fees. The second, a resolution authorizing the CFO to refund police department fees. Third, a resolution to extend the contract for the Westfield Memorial Pool concessionaire. 4, a resolution to award contract for the downtown strategic plan.
May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Domagala. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? This motion is carried. Next, I would like to, oops, that's you, sorry.
Next, I'd like to move a resolution to adopt a temporary capital budget.
May I have a second? Second. Seconded by Councilman Contract. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Domagala,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Pimento,
Yes.
Contract,
Yes.
Mackey, Mayor Brindle.
Yes, this motion is carried.
And I'd also like to move a resolution to introduce and approve the 2024 municipal budget.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Armento. Any discussion? I just want to say again, huge thank you to the Finance Committee and the staff. I don't know, in my 6 years as mayor, I have to say this is probably the best and most exciting budget we've ever been able to introduce. The fact that we've been able to 0% tax rate, almost $9 million surplus, and an unprecedented capital budget. We are all really fortunate that now we get to kind of, I think we all serve because we want to make things happen. And it's years like this that you just relish because we have the opportunity to really make things happen and deliver on the priorities that you all have communicated. So just want to say my thanks, and it's going to be a very exciting year. So.
And Mayor, I'd just like to reiterate your acknowledgement of all the hard work that gets done every single day by our town administrator and our CFO and our deputy town administrator. It's always a pleasure working with you, and I think I can speak on behalf of the whole committee that it's a terrific budget, and there's a lot of great things happening in Westfield, including the fact that people want to come work here now, for the fact that it's a great, and beautiful town, but also because it's run so well. So thank you very much for that.
I hear it all the time from mayors all over the state. People want to work here because of the culture of the work environment that's here. Not only, I think, a tone set by Jim Gilday, but I think by the community and the appreciation that's been shown. So don't ever take that for granted, because we're only as good as the people that we can attract. So, so very thrilled with that. So let's please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Domagala,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Armento,
Yes.
Contract,
Yes.
Mackey, Mayor Brindle.
Yes, this motion is carried.
Next, I'd like to move a resolution to introduce and approve the 2024 Special Improvement District Budget.
Yeah, I have a second. Second by Councilman Mackey. Any discussion? I think it's worth noting, this is what, the 6th or 7th year now that this assessment has stayed flat. And I think that's, which means they continue to do more with less. And again, hats off to DWC Chair Jeff Kirschenbaum, but yeah, very nice job, thrilled to report it. So please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Domagala,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Armento,
Yes.
Contract, Mackey, Mayor Brindle.
Yes, this motion is carried.
And I'd like to move a resolution to approve the temporary emergency authorizations.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Saunders. Any discussion?
I just want to note that sounds very ominous.
Yeah.
And all that it is just helping us to stem from last year into this new budget, because we need to approve some monies to make that happen before we fully adopt the 2024 budget.
Very good. Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Domagala,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Armento,
Yes.
Contract, Mackey, Mayor Brindle.
Yes, this motion is carried.
And last, I'd like to move a resolution to authorize the CFO to make a budget transfer.
Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Domagala. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Domagala,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Armento,
Yes.
Contract, Mackey, Mayor Brindle.
Yes, this motion is carried.
Next are ordinances. I'd like to move General Ordinance Number 2024-07 on first reading, an ordinance for calendar year 2024 to establish a cap bank.
May I have a second? Second. Second by Councilman Contract. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Domagala,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Armento,
Yes.
Contract, Mackey, Mayor Brindle.
Yes, this motion is carried.
And finally, I'd like to move Special Ordinance Number 2024-02 on first reading, a bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements and the acquisition of new additional or replacement equipment and machinery, new information technology equipment, new communication and signal systems equipment, and new automotive vehicles, including original apparatus and equipment in, by, and for the town of Westfield and the County of Union, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $4,484,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment or fully fund appropriations from the Capital Improvement Fund, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Wow.
That's the approval for the capital budget, in case you were wondering.
It has to be worded that way, apparently.
Yeah.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Mackey. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Domagala,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Armento,
Yes.
Contract, Mackey, Mayor Brindle.
Yes, this motion is carried. Councilman Contract, please move Code Review and Town Property Committee resolutions.
I'd like to move a resolution to approve children's amusement device license.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Mackey. Any discussion? This motion is carried. Did I say all in favor? Did I miss that part?
And we should just say yes.
Well, in favor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we need to vote on this? I think we do, right? Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
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 Any discussion? This motion is carried. Councilor Mackey, please move Public Works resolutions.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move a resolution to award contract for various landscape material for the Department of Public Works.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Contract. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Any discussion? This motion is carried. May I have a motion to adjourn? So moved by Councilor Mackey. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? This motion is carried, and this meeting is adjourned. Good night.